Oh yeah. Obidole. Keduka Nodi. How you guys doing? We got 4 in. As soon as we hit, let's say 10, then we'll go ahead and get this going 6. Okay, maybe I shut the bar too low. Hold on, let me go back. Audrey, hold on. I am not at home right now. I am not at my regular residence. The family is moving. We are moving as a family, and so I am stationed in a faraway land trying to get things set up for the family to come and live in this place comfortably. We will be living in a different state for about a year. So, like I said, I'll wait till we 10. Ndewo, Nyanile, Ndewo, Chimoge. Chimoge, Ndewo. Y'all check out Chimoge's comments, his the YouTube channel. Hey, Uranna, why Oma? Why Kadima? Kedu Kede? Okay, let me read. Ndewo keka eke si anyanwụ. Keka eke si anyanwụ. Keka eke si anyanwụ. Uranna, ị nwere ike ịgwa m ihe i kwuru n'ọzọ? Or ị nwere ike iji okwu ọzọ gwa m ihe ị na-ekwu? Sọnsọ Igbo mma mụ na onwe mmanwụ Igbo a na-asụ n'ebe na obodo m na ama m. Ndewo onye m obi. Ndewo Ross. All right, we're at 5, we're at 6. Y'all, so one of the things that really helps on YouTube is if you hit the like button. So if you're in here now, hit the like button. It lets people see that this live is going, and then we can finally hit 10 and begin the speech. So go ahead and hit like. If you're in here, hit like. I think the phrase I always use is smash the like button. And there, well, everybody's speaking Igbo today. So the next video I'm doing is going to be on the 4 market days. But I've been really busy with this whole thing going on, and then getting Kedu up and running. So if you don't know, I have an Igbo language school at www.kedu.me. So we are right now, as in a different tab on this same laptop I'm using, we have a class going on right now. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is if you're brand new, you've never heard Igbo before. Jojo. Level 1 is brand new, never heard Igbo before. You're at a beginner's level. Level 2, you can hear it maybe, but you can't speak it. You can speak it, but you can't hear it. All those things that happen with all of the trauma that us Obodo Igbo people endure in the process of trying to retain and learn the language. And then level 3 is if you want to reach full native kind of just sound natural, like someone who's been speaking it their whole life. So right now we got students in, hey, we're here. I'm here, Chinwendu. Chinwendu. Keduki Ide. Why, Oma? I feel like it's been a while since I've heard from Chinwendu, but I remember back when I was hearing more from you. Not to put you on the spot. But yeah. All right, we're at 11. Obidole. Hi. Ndibo, kwezienu. Ndibo, kwezienu. Ndibo, kwezienu. Ojiabiala means how is the snake sunbathing? Oh, I've never heard that before. Okay, I myself, I'm a student in Igbo too. So yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for that. Oh yeah, kaibido. Okike keroa. Okike denye ndụ. Okike mmadụ na mmụọ. Okike nye niile. Oje abịala. Ala wala. Ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ. Ala mụrụ anyị niile na-enye anyị ahụ, na-enye anyị ndụ, na-enye anyị ụlọ, na-enye anyị nri. Eji m ọjị na-ekele gị, nwanyị ọma. Ọjị abịala. Eji m ọjị ike na-ekele ndị iche niile nọ n'ụwa, na-eleta anyị, na-esoro anyị n'ụwa, na-echedo anyị. Ji ike na-ekele ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Mana ebe ọbụla ifuru ọjị, ifuru ndụ, Ojike bụ ọjị ndụ. Ojike bụ ọjị ike. Ojike bụ ọjị na-edume ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Ndị oke na ndị nwata. Ndị nwanyị na ndị nwoke. Ndị ala na ndị igwe. Ọ ga-adị nnọọ n'eke, dị nnọọ n'orie, dị nnọọ n'afọ, dị nnọọ na nkwọ. Ise. All right, cool. So as always, I gave acknowledgments to the creator. I'm in a particularly good mood, so I really hammed it up. I said the creator who created the world, the creator who gave us all life, the creator who created all things. Aha, you say send it into space. Wonderful. So I gave acknowledgments to the creator. I gave acknowledgments to the mother of all of us, the mother who gave birth to us, the mother who gives us our flesh, which is Allah or Anna. Let me say Anna because I always pronounce Allah like a Muslim. But I gave acknowledgments to her who gives us our flesh, who gives us housing, the houses we live in, homes, who gives us a place to live, who gives us life, who gives us food. I gave her acknowledgments. I gave acknowledgments to Ndimbu, which are the first people, and Ndiegede, which were the first mortal people. Those are both our ancestors. If you are interested in why that dynamic is that way, I have a video on it. Why can't I think? The 4 world ages. So I explained the difference between Ndimbu, which are our ancestors that lived before mortality, and Ndiegede, which are the ancestors that came after and rebuilt the connection to Chukwu that we currently have, or the connection to Chineke, to be more broad and more all-encompassing. I gave acknowledgments to all of our ancestors, Ndiche. Now, if I were by myself, I would list my ancestors by name. I can go back, I think, about 7 to 6 generations. I think 8 actually, but I'm trying to figure out the truth on one of them. So I would advise everybody, in order for everything we discussed to work, in order for all of this to make sense, make sure you engage in the lifelong journey of learning as many of your ancestors' names as possible. Go back as far as you can, and when you are at your altar, call their names one by one in order of seniority being age. You will notice the difference pretty quickly between that and just saying my ancestors, right? Now, of course, that journey is a lot more difficult for some people than others, but the level of difficulty equals the level of reward. So anything concerning Odinani Ndibo, anything concerning any African spiritual system is you and your ancestors, right? That's the most important part. Those are the Mwozi is the term, Mwozi, the spirits that give you vision, the more spirits that follow you and give you vision and teach you and that type of thing. In Ndibeke, call it muses. That's one of the ways you can refer to them. But of course, your connection to them is a lot deeper because you are them and they are you. Right. So I said this in my video, Ancestors Explained, and I think more explained. So if you guys haven't seen Ancestors Explained, check that one out. That's one of the ones I'm particularly proud of. But in the Ancestors Explained video, I said that your ancestor, you in the worldview of our ancestors, right? In the worldview of an African, you are not a book, right? In the Western way of thinking, an individual is a book, right? My life story. You are a page in a book. In the African way, right? So if I pick up any book, try to pick up one here. Okay, I got After Dark, so I got this one. So I know everybody's trying to find this one really hard. So if I pick up this book here and I just open this page, right? And I read this page by itself, I'll pick some things up, but I really won't know what's going on because I missed the entire story. I missed the entire story before it, and the rest of the story is not going to make sense. I'm officially lost if you start a book in the middle, right? So learning your ancestors is learning the pages of you that existed before you reached the current page in the story that you're in now. Because you are a continuation of them. They are a continuation of you. One of the things that Odinani Ndibo allowed me to do is to start really re-examining my understanding of self. Like, what is me? What is myself? What am I like as a person? Right? Because I used to think it was this. I used to think it was this. What's the title of the book? Forgive my digression. It's After God is Dibia by Ozo Dibia, Dr. John Ume. So one, there's 2 volumes. One you can find, I think, pretty easily. The other one is next to impossible to find. So I feel so blessed that I found that book in my local bookstore. You are very lucky. You are very, very lucky to have found it. Yeah, it's very rare. I think he stopped selling it like on like Amazon and things like that. And I know at home the people that want to get the book go to his house somewhere in Anambra. So yeah. Oh, still looking for it. Lucky chap. Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, anyways, yeah, back to the thing. So in order to understand your full story, you have to remember that you are a page in a bigger book. You're a page in a bigger book that goes all the way back to the very first ancestors you ever had, which is Chineke, right? Some people say that's God, and they're not wrong for saying that, right? But that's the first page in that book. And you are a story that begins from there and continues on and so forth. And once you fully understand that, a lot of the things of Umuwa, the children of the world, a lot of things that Umuwa throw at you become very, you put it in context more, they become very small, and you realize how strong and how big you are as a human being. I can never find that book. It's like 1,000 plus on Amazon. Yeah, I think it's no joke. Chineke, yes, your first ancestors, which is Chi and Eke, if you want to translate it. I have a video called How God Was Created. It was the first video I did that goes into the story of Chineke, or one of the stories. I also want to let you guys know this. There are many stories. Like when I tell stories as to how something came about, there are many stories in many different places that say describe the account or describe different things, right? So the next video I'm doing is the 4 market days explained. By the way, I'm going to interrupt myself. So we got a lot more people in here right now, which is awesome. If you're in the chat, go ahead and hit like. It helps the video. I'm not the best at explaining YouTube algorithm stuff, but just hit like. It helps people who have the same interest as you see that we've gone live. We get more people in here. We have a more robust discussion because, of course, I'll be answering questions and things like that. So hit like, hit like, hit like, hit like. And if you're not subscribed for some reason, go ahead and subscribe. Now, as I was saying, the bigger book, the Chineke. If somebody can type what I interrupted, I would love that. But I'm gonna see if I can remember myself. Bigger book, Chineke, full story, full self, Umuwa. Namdi says hi. Hey, that's my wife down there. Ulaku, man. That's my wife. So I've been hit like and subscribe. Hell yeah. Show. That's my wife there. I'm missing my family dearly. And Namdi just said hi. Hey, Namdi. Hey, Namdi. What's going on? Olamma. Olanaya. Hi. Hi, Namdi. All right. So like I said, I'm away from home. So if you guys see the setup I have now, it's really guerrilla. You were saying the next video is going to be on the 4 market days, but what was I saying specifically about the 4 market days? I'll get back to it. Welcome, Princess Kaha. Hey Derek, we need a video on the 7 layers of more Ross. I know you've been on that. You've been really on that one. So, and I don't blame you too. So it's coming. It's 100% coming. But yeah. So as I was saying, or maybe as I was not saying, you are a page within a greater book, right? But there's even more to you than that. There's even more to you than that, right? And that's one of the things I'm going to discuss today, which is the concept of Agwu. Most specifically, the concept of ignoring your Agwu or losing your connection to your Agwu, and what that looks like in a day on your day-to-day basis, what that means, and so forth. Awesome. Okay, back on topic. Okay, thank you so much, Chinwendu. Thank you. You said that you understood that you were. Yes. Okay, I think I got that point across. Awesome. Thank you, viable alternative. So the concept of Agwu. Now, most of you not only know Agwu, but you guys have reached a point where you can discuss it on a very philosophical level. I've had, especially where's Ross at? People throw things at me that like I never even considered. I didn't know that type of thing. And then I'll go and look or I'll think about it. It makes perfect sense and it registers. So I'm really happy about how much everybody has come to understand and own everything within our ancestral body of knowledge and so forth. Because one of the things that's important to remember is that in the African worldview or in the Igbo worldview, knowledge comes from the inside out, right? So I can give you the language by which you can describe things, but in the end, how you're going to express Odinani and Igbo is going to be from within out, right? You're going to, it's the knowledge is going to come from within and out. And a lot of you guys have reached a point where you're comfortable enough to start putting into the body of knowledge and things like that. So I'm really happy about that. I say I knew it was coming. Yeah. So but yeah, so the next video is going to be on the 4 market days. I think I'm a little too hyped today because I keep losing my place. Okay, cool. So yeah, so let's go. Anyways, yeah, about Agwu. So each individual, like as an individual, you are a composite of 4 things, right? And I know a lot of you guys already understand this, but for those of you who do understand, be patient for those who are catching up, right? So I'm a Ndieze tier. I'm going Ndieze tier. Wendy, anyways, let me not say anything rude, but yeah, we have different levels. So thank you for your videos. Thank you, Princess Kaha. So there are 4, you're a composite of 4 things. You are made of your chi, eke, Agwu, also known as your onyowa or your chiwa, right? So a lot of times people will talk and they'll even just say chi, and it can get confusing. And I use Agwu very specifically, one, because it's a spirituality that I focus more on spirituality. And there's a reason that it ties to that. And then I don't use the term chiwa because I don't want to confuse people, right? But chiwa, which is your worldly chi or your universal chi, the chi that comes into the universe, right? So your chi, your eke, your onyowa, or which onyowa is like your universal person, right? And then your mo. So we're focusing on the third one that I named, which is onyowa, or Agwu. Ndieze tier, cha-cha-cha, ndieze tier, kwenu. Ola's asleep, awesome. So, yeah, so we're focusing on onyowa this time, right? So what is onyowa? When an individual, you're a composite of those 4 things. So when you pass, people have different ways of conceptualizing the chi. Some people say that your chi is always with Chukwu. Some people say your chi is within you. Some people say your chi follows you. Some people say that your chi is you, or that kind of thing. Everybody has a different way of conceptualizing it, and everybody's kind of saying the same thing. But when you pass away, you're going to split in 4 pieces, right? Your chi is going to return to chi. Some people say it's already there, right? It doesn't go anywhere, right? So your chi is going to return to chi. Your eke, your physical manifestation, is going to return to the earth, right? If you remember the story of Chineke, Eke, the divine feminine, the universal feminine, right? Or the grandmother of creation, passed and reincarnated as Anna, the earth. In some tellings, she gives birth to Anna, the earth, and dies in the process of giving birth. Eke is the universe, right? The universe. So my universal, and I don't like to say just body, because when I was saying earlier, that entire book, that is Eke. That whole thing is Eke. That is you as a parcel of creation. That part of you returns back to the earth. So dust to dust, right? That part of you returns back to the earth. More, people have different ways of conceptualizing more as well. Some people say that more goes to Allah more, right? Some people say that more stays around, that kind of thing. There's just different ways of saying more or less the same thing, but more goes to more, right? And we'll discuss that on a different thing. But your onyowa, or that Agwu, what we're talking about today, does something very unique, right? In that it comes back. So those things split into their different parts, or go back to their different places they come from. And then Onyowa does the process of reincarnating by first returning to Chukwu, or first returning to the Chi, to have its mission reaffirmed, or have a mission given to it, or its purpose, and that type of thing, right? So after Agwu goes to Chi and has that thing reaffirmed, it then comes back down into Eke. Remember, Chi and Eke, Chi being the masculine, Eke being the feminine. It returns to Eke with your Chi, by the way. And your Chi and your Agwu begin negotiating with Eke, right? Begin negotiating with the universe, a negotiation process with the universe. And in this negotiation process, they are telling her, this is what we are coming into the world. This is what we are entering you to do. This is what we are coming into the world to do, right? This is who we are. This is who he was in a past life, so on and so forth. Now, in my video, I explained the successful transition of this phase, which is in this negotiation. If you say you're coming into the world to be this person or do this thing or yada yada yada, here's what I'm going to give you. You're going to be born into this family. You're going to be tall. You're going to be short. You're going to be white. You're going to be black. You're going to have a loud voice. You're going to have a quiet voice. All of these different things that make you up, right? You're going to have a link to this animal. You're going to have a link to this star, right? All of these different things, right? And you can be in a part of the world so long as you follow my rules, right? One of the rules you're going to follow is you're going to do and be what you said you came to do and be, right? You're gonna follow the lease agreement that we're making. You say you want to stay here for 6 months. After 6 months, if you don't pack your stuff up and go, we're calling the cops, right? That kind of thing, right? So that thing, that pact you make with creation is called your iyi uwa, your universal stream. Iyi uwa, universal stream. It is also known as your ofo ndu, which is your staff of the Alpha. Is like, I mean, there's a lot more to the Alpha, but I think most of you know what it is by now. But the Alpha is a staff of authority. My last name is Alpha Derenwa. The Alpha is within the child, or a child with an Alpha within, right? So of the Alpha, you're giving this Alpha, not physical. I mean, you give it physical form later on in life if you have sense, but most people don't know that this is a thing, so they leave it they leave it abstract, right? But you have a pact you make with creation. These are the rules that govern you as a person, right? So you're going to live your life and you're going to do certain things, and things will fall apart for you. And you're going to think, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, yada yada yada. You'll do certain things, all of a sudden things will elevate for you. That's all ties into that pact you made, that Ofo'uwa, that EU that you made, right? And then based on what you said you are coming to be, and sometimes when I say do, it kind of limits the extent of that concept, the reincarnation concept, because I don't want it to be like, I came here to be a plumber or I came here to design computer, whatever. I mean, that's a part of it too, but there's more to it. I came here to give birth to this particular person. I came to live in this particular place, in this particular space, and be this person. Your truth. Anything that goes into your truth is that thing you agree to. So you say you're going to live this specific truth. I'm now going to bring you into the world on a specific day related to that truth, right? Now, in the ancestral worldview, there are 4 days. There's I was going to start saying Chieke Agwu more. There's Eke, Urie, Afo, and Nkwo. And that's what my next video is going to talk about. So I'm not going to go too far into it. But Eke is light or fire. There's a lot more to Eke as well, because Eke is also darkness, right? But all of these days are like in this context, they're like doors by which you enter. So if you're coming in through this door, right? If you're coming in through the back door, maybe you're coming in to do this, you're coming in, yeah, all that stuff, right? So Eke is light or fire, plasma, anything of that nature. Uria is water. Uria is water. That's the second day, right? So if you're coming into the world through on Uria day, there's going to be a very specific nature that you have as a person, right? Uria people are very passionate. Uria people are also very peaceful while being rebellious, right? Uria people don't live within the box. They don't live in the box. They don't live in the rules, right? If we're all doing this, Uria people are gonna do whatever the hell they want to do, right? That kind of thing. So when you meet people with that nature, sometimes that implies that's who they are, right? That kind of thing. So again, it goes back to that pact you made. Maybe you passed away and you came back and you said, when I come into the world, I'm going to make the best music anyone can ever imagine, right? And so Uria, because it's also Uria is connected to creativity. Okay, we're going to bring you through on Uria Day because you're going to be a creative. That's a creative thing. Uria Day, you're going to come through on Uria Day, right? That kind of thing. So those days are the day you are born is based off of that pact you make. Right? That pact that your Agwu and your Chi make. And it's important to know this aspect of Igbo cosmology because there's a thing that happens like a lot now where the Chi is made to be superior to Eke, right? Like the Chi is God and then the universe is like its subject, like it's a top-down thing. And that's not really what it is, right? In Igbo, there's an ilu that we use in Igbo thoughts that says "Uwa wahia," or the world is a market, right? So things aren't really top down. No matter what, even the top has to negotiate with the bottom, if that's the case, in order to get things done, right? In our last Odinani group study on the Patreon, which if you are not a member, let me type it here. I know you guys are asking questions, but I'm in the zone, so I'm not even looking. But go ahead and ask. So if you want to support the channel, it's at patreon.com/the medicine shell. If you like the discussion we're having, you really need to be in on our group study. The next one is going to be on Sunday. To the Patreon people, I apologize. I haven't posted the subject yet. But the subject is going to be on feeding more. Why people have the idea of feeding more, or what an unfed spirit looks like. Feeding your spirit. What does an unfed spirit look like? How to rectify an unfed spirit, and so forth. So if you want to have that discussion, it's going to be this Sunday. Hurry up and join patreon.com/the medicine shell. It is the best way to support the channel. Another way to support channels, just donations here too. So anything you guys can do, that'd be awesome. And it's completely appreciated. But yeah, so you make this pact. Eke brings you into the world on a specific day, to a specific woman, to a specific family, to a specific father, in a specific household, in a specific land, all of those things, right? You're going to have a certain way you manifest physically, a way that you're going to bloom physically. Maybe you're going to grow into a tall person, right? Maybe you're going to be short. Maybe you're going to be a little loopy. Maybe you're going to be very straight-laced and narrow. All of these things tie back to your truth. So long as they are true about you, you can pretend you're different things, right? You can pretend you're different things, but there's a consequence for pretending or faking or not being yourself, because it's not tied to your EU. So once you start pretending, you're on your own, which is kind of what we're going to start talking about now, right? So you come into the world and there's a part of you that knows the agreement you made. What about AK people? AK people, AK is a powerful day. Eke is an extremely powerful day. Eke is the senior sister of the 4 days, is the oldest sister on the 4 days. On Eke Day, you don't do anything except go to the market. So there's no farming. You can't enter a forest. You can't fight. You can't argue. You can't quarrel. If a person is born on Eke Day, it's celebrated, right? So what does that mean? Eke Day, Eke people Eke people are very powerful spiritually. They have a very powerful, strong spirit, right? Or an authoritative presence in their spirit. And some people may be able to sense that. And maybe you've gone through your life and people have sensed something about you that maybe you haven't sensed about yourself. But AK Day have a lot of power that comes from them. That's AK. That's AK Day, right? That kind of thing. So as I was saying, that's why, in fact, if you pay attention to a lot of Igbo last names, you'll see AK appear a lot. Okeke, Nweke, all that, you'll see it appear a lot. Those are people whose ancestor was born on that day, but they specifically, the reason you see it show up so many times on names, because parents want to flex that my child was born on AK Day, right? At the same time, it's not good to pass away on AK Day, because anything that happens on AK Day is the will of the universe, is the will of AK. So if you were born on that day, AK brought you there. AK said, oh yeah, we don't even need, let's not spend too much time on the negotiation. Bring her through. That's my person, right? That kind of thing, right? But if you pass on that day, I was talking to, funny enough, in the place I'm at now, there's this elder man from Umuahia. And we were having this conversation about the market days. So I was telling him the next video I'm working on, things like that. And I always like talking to elders to see what I can learn. And he was telling me that back when he was young and people would die on AK Day, the family would hide it like a secret. And then they would pretend that the person died maybe the day before or a day after, or they'll just keep the door closed until the next day, and they'll say, oh, this person passed away, so on and so forth. So that's the meaning of AK Day and so forth. So anyways, yeah, there's a part of you when you come into the world, there's a part of you that knows. My alarm's going off. By the way, if you're new, this is going to be the most ADHD ass stream you've ever seen. That's just who I am. That's what it is. So your Agwu, that part of you, remember, you're a composite of those 4 things: the chi that you return to, the eke that you made the agreement with, right? That all fondo you have, or that EU. People use different terms for it, right? Then the Agwu, the one that part of you that did that journey. And then when you in order for you to manifest, you have to manifest as two things: madum and more, person and spirit, right? But don't see the way I visualize them is not as two separate things like this. I visualize them the way our ancestors typically described it, which is like the sun. So madum is the sun itself, the physical, tangible sun that you can enter and be burned by. And more are the rays of the sun, the essence that comes from it, right? I think Ross, we were talking on Patreon, and he said that he described it as your auraic self. And so, yeah, your auraic self, the aura that comes from you, right? That is more. And both of those things, the you that you can see and the you cannot see, are equally you. They're equally you, right? We're actually going to be discussing what it looks like when your more is not fed. Because like your body, your person needs to be fed, your more needs to be fed as well. Your spirit needs to be fed as well. And if you're not fed, you wither away. Many people's spirits have withered to oblivion because their more has not been fed. And when you see those people, you'll know, but that's a different discussion, that kind of thing. You may be one of them. So, so anyways, your Agwu, right, is also known as more sorongi lo uwa. The more sorongi lo uwa, the more that followed you in returning into the world, right? So you're not completely your Agwu, and your Agwu is not completely you. All of these composites, you're not completely one of them. You are what happens when all of them meet in their very specific way, right? So your that Agwu is the part of you that follows you, and it's also known as the person who incarnated into the world as you. So there will be an elder who passed away who chooses to come back as you, or chooses when they come back, they came back as you, and that person will follow you into the world. Funny enough, my Igbo 2 teacher was telling me about how he went to do Afa, and he found out that he was reincarnated from his grandfather, who was a very powerful Iche. And the way I found him as a teacher, funny enough, was that he had a podcast where his Igbo was just like poetic. It was just like flowing. And to him, it was just it was natural. That's just kind of how we talk. But I was like, no, we need to talk and that kind of thing. So we're working together, and he's teaching the Igbo level 2. Actually, he's teaching both of them just because of something technical, but he's teaching Igbo level 2 and that type of thing. But he was telling me that he's reincarnated from his grandfather, right? And his grandfather came into the world as him. And that Agwu, that chi, your Chihuahua, right? Let me say that Chihuahua, that particular part of you is going to follow you into the world. And it is going to be the mentor that tells you, because it knows what you don't know. Some of you are thinking, okay, how do I know what my EU was? How do I know all these things? Your Agwu, that part of you knows. Agwu is also known as the universal mind, right? So Agwu, in a lot of, if you look at Igbo cosmology or mythology and stories and things like that, there's typically a story where Agwu figures out the secret of the universe, or figures out what is on Chukwu's mind. And from there, Chukwu gives Agwu the title of being the universal mind, or the apex of wisdom, or wisdom itself, right? So one of the stories, Chukwu asked all of the Abara, what are the 4 market days? And Agwu is able to say Eke, Orie, Afo, Nkwo in order, right? Again, my next video is on the 4 market days, Eke, Orie, Afo, Nkwo. And it's going to be a hard sell, but if you know those words in the correct order, you know everything there is to exist. You know all of it. You are officially all knowing. If you know those 4 in order, you are all knowing. And you're going to see again in Igbo mythology, again and again, people prove their wisdom by being able to say the Eke, Orie, Afo, and Nkwo in correct order. So Agwu is the only Abara that's able to guess it right. And in different versions of the story, like there's the version from Imo State, like Southern Imo State, the Chukwu tells all of the Abara to rip Agwu apart and swallow a piece of Agwu, so that everything in the universe has Agwu within it, right? And that thing becomes its mind, or its inner mind, its hind mind, its universal mind, the mind that knows what Chukwu knows, right? Another version of the story, Chukwu, which I think is from the Enugu, Anambra area, the Chukwu tells Agwu to take all the Abara and put the Abara on its head, right? Okay, if you want to know what I know, put all the Abara on your head. And so Agwu is the only one that's able to hold them on the head and balance it. A lot of times when you see masquerades with a big plume or a lot of things sitting on its head, that's what's being represented in one way, shape, or form, right? A lot of times there'll be stories about great wise men, and they're able to say the 4 market days and that kind of thing. But Agun, that mind, that thing that returns to that thing, that part of you that returns from the previous life, it has a mind that is connected to Chuku. It has the exact same mind as the universe, right? So the universe's consciousness and your consciousness are the exact same thing. And that's why I said earlier that knowledge comes from the inside out. You are already all knowing. You are already all knowing. You know all things, right? And if, from my own deduction, the idea of learning is impossible if that wasn't a reality. Because when we do the external learning, we're actually checking it against something that's already inside. You understand? That's what makes us conscious. There's already something inside that knows this thing, and then we see it out there, and it goes, "Oh, that is true. I remember. Well, I knew that." That kind of thing. Now, you don't just because from conditioning, you don't think you're remembering. You think you're learning. Something's entering your head, but that's not how learning works. That kind of thing. So, Abu is all knowing, right? And throughout your life, it is trying to communicate with you. It is trying to guide you. It is trying to let you know, hey, we're supposed to do this. Go over here, do this thing. This is what we're supposed to do. No, no, don't touch that. Stay away from her. Yeah. She's not for you, bro. Stay away from her. Aha, that's the one. Go talk to her. That kind of thing. Agon is doing that thing because Agon knows the plan. Agon is connected. That type of thing. But the average person, unless they are a baby, is not connected to that mind. Unless they are a newborn baby, right? Because there's an Igbo that says "Nwata bụ mmụọ," right? A child is a spirit. A child is more. You understand? A baby. Nwata is like a baby. That kind of thing. So, like my daughter Olanda, she's more. You can't say things around her that you don't mean because she has a high manifesting capacity, right? That type of thing. So that part of you that knows these things is guiding you throughout life. And the younger you are, the more in tune to it you are, so that you're able to listen, right? Oftentimes, people, when they want to speak about going back to their truth or realizing their truth, you'll speak of the idea of the inner child. Well, what makes the inner child special? Because all those facets of you for a child are closer. They hear each other and they understand each other, and you're able to exist within your truth more easily, right? Then the world happens, the conditioning of the world, life stories, good and bad, things like that. And you begin to form what Igbo, right, have identified as ego, which is a construct of yourself that you create for one reason or another. And we all do this, right? So some of you will create a you that protects you from certain traumas you've had. Some of you will create a you that is what you think you're supposed to be, right? Oh, this would be good, that kind of thing, right? I thought I was supposed to be in IT. That's what I thought I was supposed to be, right? And I'd go there and I had nothing in common with anybody there. I felt like an alien when I'd talk. It was like I'd just say something, they said, and it just would just go like this, that kind of thing. But I was like, oh, they make a lot of money there. It's a successful career. So let me go do that, right? So there's this thing, right? This you that you tell yourself you are, right? And what's funny is that a lot of people don't do, if you want to call it an ego check, if you want to do it a cleansing, whatever the hell you want to call it, a lot of people don't check that thing because you've been building that thing up since you were a 7-year-old child, right? So a lot of those things are pretty immature. Like, they're not well developed. They're like a child's construct of what a cool person should be, right? And part of growing is checking that thing as, oh, I created you. That's not even who I am. That's not, I created this thing, right? But people will create a wall of ego to protect themselves from the world around them, right? You begin developing the idea that it is all you. You're alone in this. All of these things, my Agwu, this and this and that. Why am I muted? Unmute myself. I don't want to do that. Give me 1 minute. What? Oh boy. Give me just 1 minute, guys. I have a class running right now. And okay. Okay, class is over. Perfect. Wow. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Yes. And okay, so yeah, if you're coming in, I don't know if Okonkwo's ego was his hyper masculine. Chimoge, that's brilliant. Okonkwo's ego was hyper masculine Igbo man. Absolutely. People don't understand one of the most brilliant things about things fall apart was because like they look at it and they're like, okay, Okonkwo was acting this way, so this is how our ancestors were acting. But you notice in the story, he's the only person acting the way he's acting, right? That hyper masculine, that kind of thing, like abusing everybody, acting crazy, that kind of thing. So, but you realize that he had created this thing, his image of what a man should be, and he became so obsessed with it. And so, because sometimes that ego will take you places, it'll take you far, right? And so, because he had this particular ego, he was always going against his truth. In the story, if you listen, he was always going against his truth, and then he'd suppress it. Anytime he'd start feeling his real self come up, he'd press it down and he'd equate it to acting like a woman or being all these womanly feelings, yada yada yada. And when he'd see other people having that trait, he would attack them because he's already grown to hate that thing inside of him. So when he sees it elsewhere, he's going to attack it, right? Because he loves the ego, right? So you form this shell of ego that you use to hide yourself from your truth or protect yourself from the world, so on and so forth, right? And that shell can become so thick that you can no longer hear your onyowa. You can no longer hear your Agwu. And at that point, you don't even know who you are as a person. That you have lived so deep in this forest that you plunge yourself into that you can't even see which way is north, east, west, or south. You're just in there. You're stuck in there, that kind of thing, right? So what does it look like when somebody ignores their Agwu? So I always tell this I always give this paradigm or situation where if an individual is born to be a dibia, you have what's called Agwu Ishi. So all of us, we come with an Agwu, right? And some people's Agwu is more lenient. Like if you want to go over here, okay, fine, I'll follow you and go that way. It's more liberal. Okay, fine, I'll follow you and go that way. I'll hear you out, that kind of thing, right? It'll go with you. Oh, okay, maybe it'll make adjustments and things like that. But some people's Agwu is extremely like, if you have Ishi Agwu, that means your head is Agwu, that you are actually supposed to manifest into the world as Agwu. And that particular Agwu, everybody's Agwu is different, by the way. It's not the same spirit. So that particular Agwu has no mercy. If you're a Dibia, your Agwu has no mercy, right? If you're supposed to go over here and follow your path and you decide to go this way, car accident, right? That kind of thing. If you go too long without following that Agwu, you'll actually lose your mind. Like you'll lose your mind. It's called Ara Agwu. You understand? And that's if you're a Dibia. There's Ishi Agwu. But it's not only Dibias that have that strong Agwu that's like, no, we're going this way. It's not just Dibias that have that thing, right? It's also people who have a very powerful or very important mission in the tapestry of creation, right? So if you look at the shirt I'm wearing, right, it's a bunch of strings woven together. It's a bunch of strings woven together, right? That kind of thing. So there's a string here that if it were missing, the whole thing will kind of fall apart and look kind of funny, but it won't completely fall apart. But at the same time, let's say here there's a seam that whichever string is holding this seam, if it was gone, the whole thing would bust open, right? It would be the damage would be more severe. So whichever string, and I'm not, when I say these strings, now bring it back to the person. So each of us are a string in this big ogada, they call it. That is creation, right? That returning and coming back is the same thing as a needle looping and looping and looping. It's heading towards something. It's moving towards something that's supposed to by design, right? But if, let's say I'm supposed to do this and I go over here with this seam and I start doing it this way, the whole thing's going to fall apart. So the person whose string is that seam, the seamstress, the hand that controls it, the Agwu, right? The working function of Chuku is not going to allow you to do that. It's going to fight you if it's strong. Like if your mission is very intense and very powerful, it's going to fight the hell out of you, right? Like the level of misfortune and mishap that you're going to have is going to be at a much higher level than the average person whose Agwu is a little more lenient. Now, it doesn't mean that your mission, one person's mission is more important than another. It's just the nature of your own specific Agwu. So the example that's most common is an individual who's supposed to be a Dibia, right? When they try to do anything but that, it typically ends in failure or disaster. And if they never do what is called making peace with Agwu, right, or reestablishing that communication, like, okay, Agwu, I'm ready to listen. What do you need me to do? Here's what I need. Just that back and forth dialogue. If that person doesn't do that back and forth dialogue, they develop what is called Aragon, right? So a person who has Ishagon is already going to be kind of it's already going to be kind of, kind of out there, right? From the observation of the Ofeke, the average person, and to themselves, right? They might be able to see things, and they'll be what's, and then nobody else can see that thing. They might hear things, and then nobody else hears that thing, right? They can sense things, and nobody else. A good friend of mine was telling me that he can see more. He can see little particles of light that make things, that allow things to exist, right? That kind of thing. And because I know, or I've accepted what I've accepted, what he said made perfect sense to me. But there's people he'll tell that to, and they'll be like, yo, what the hell? You can't keep a job saying that, right? That kind of thing. So then by nature, he's going to say, okay, let me try to stop. Like, let me go this way. Let me not be this thing. Let me go this way and act like this is not happening. That kind of thing. And the pullback is going to be severe because that person has Ishiago. They're supposed to come into the world to be Ago, right? Because if Agun sees and knows what Chukwu knows, you're going to see and know things that the average person can't explain or can't give you, right? And you're going to be kind of out there. That's a Dibia. But there are other people who are not Dibias who have an extremely strong Agun, and that thing doesn't let them go anywhere, right? So an individual may come into the world and they think that they are intelligent. I've come to learn that whatever gifts you have as a person, they don't belong to you. That's one of the things I learned as far as Odinani and Dibo goes. So let's say you come into the world and you believe that you're an intelligent person, right? And there's something specific you're supposed to use that intelligent for. My Agon tells me to kick somebody. I'm a hit show. So let's say you come into the world and you are, an intelligent person, or you see yourself as an intelligent person, and maybe you're applying that intelligence to, I don't know, credit card scamming. Whatever you young kids are doing these days, right? Let's say you're applying it to scamming people, right? But you're actually supposed to be the person that I don't know, figures out how to get the debt situation fixed for maybe poor people or maybe rich people. Who knows? It's not always the traditionally or the contemporary noble thing. Sometimes your algo is you came into the world to scam. Sometimes that's what your algo brought you into the world to do. This person, like, yo, I'm coming back into this world. I'm scamming everybody. You understand? So like Bernie Madoff, right? You don't reach that level of success if your algorithm didn't approve, that kind of thing, right? So let's say your algorithm didn't bring you into the world of scamming, you start scamming. You understand? Because you're intelligent, right? There's a saying that okay, so your chi brings you into the world, and then whatever you need to do or be the thing you were supposed to do and be, you are going to be equipped to succeed in doing that thing. You will not lose if you follow your chi. It's impossible. If you lost, it wasn't your chi that sent you. That kind of thing, right? You cannot lose. That power to do that thing is going to be called your ikenga, right? So if Kobe Bryant, RIP's Agum, brought him back and said, hey, we're averaging 35 every game, he has everything it takes. His entire life story is going to bring him to the point where he can do it when when Agum says, all right, go. You understand? That thing is called your ikenga. The power to live in your truth, the power to be your truth. Whatever your truth is, you are fully equipped to be that thing. Nothing will happen to you. You're impervious, right? And I'm not just saying these things lightly, because trust me, I'm one of the most skeptical people you'll ever meet, believe it or not, based on that kind of thing. But whatever it is your truth is, you are absolutely equipped to live within it and be that thing. You understand? And you're going to have these gifts, all these different gifts, but you're going to think that they're, a lot of times because of ego, you'll think they're yours, that you're just supposed to use it for you. You understand? So what happens when you ignore your agon is that two things. One, you'll lose those gifts. Two, those gifts will turn against you, right? The gifts will turn against you. And you'll find these people who are, let me put it this way, enemies of themselves, right? That's what our agon is, right? Our agon is that you're able to see and perceive things. But remember, a dibia is a servant. A dibia is a custodian, right? So that you are given the keys to the building by Chukwu. You can open doors that the average person can't open. You can get a hold of equipment that the average person can't get a hold of. You have the keys, but the keys weren't given to you to do whatever you want to do. They were given to you so that you can serve the people who were not given those keys, right? So that if you have an abundance of something, that is a part of that truth you have. But that abundance is supposed to be used to serve those that don't have it so that we reach equilibrium, right? Because that's the nature of the world. It's the nature of the world, that kind of thing. So the reason people have our Agwu is because that Agwu, that those keys, that the ability to perceive has now turned against them. It is now turned against them, right? Now it can be rectified. That situation can be rectified, one, by doing afa and figuring out exactly what the whole situation is, and then two, establishing peace with your Agwu, right? And then learning that there's an oath that DBS take. I use DB as an example because theirs is the most clearly articulated as far as Agwu goes. But there's an oath that DBS take in order to be a Dibia, right? There are specific rules you're given. They're going to change from community to community, but they're pretty universal. You're not going to take advantage of people. You're not going to use your powers to enrich yourself. You're not going to take what doesn't belong to you, both in the physical and the spiritual, that type of thing. You're going to be responsible with what you're given, and you're going to use it to serve those who don't have these abilities, that kind of thing. You're going to externalize it. You'll notice a lot of people that have our Agwu, you understand. There's this, I see this a lot in the West, where you have these things and you get so fixated on what's happening with you internally. You get so fixated on fixing yourself and repairing yourself and figuring out all these things happening with you, right? The peace process, the peacemaking process with Agwu after the ritual is done, is you externalizing these things. Okay, you have all these things, use it to help other people. That's actually where the healing comes from. That's actually where the healing, well, that's not saying the peace. That's where the peace comes from, because you figure out it was never an ailment to begin with. You were supposed to do something with this thing, right? Like if I let's say I'm camping and I light a fire and I just hold that thing and it burns and it burns and it burns and it starts burning my hand, and I don't think I have a problem. No, I was supposed to put that fire into the bushel of sticks so that we can all enjoy fire, right? That kind of thing. So that when an individual ignores that part of you, your Agwu, that part of you that came on a mission or came to actualize an existential truth, that thing will go quiet on a best case scenario. It goes quiet. Worst case scenario, it turns against you and starts fighting you, because some people will veer so far from their own truth that they become the enemy of what that truth was supposed to be, right? So if you came to the world, I just watched that Batman movie. If you came to the world and you're supposed to be Batman, all of a sudden you start being Joker, that Agwu that brought you to be Batman has to now defeat you so that you don't, because you've become the exact thing it came to the world to get rid of. That's going very, very far from your truth, right? So that being said, an Agwu ignored can become, one, your enemy, or two, right, can just leave you alone. And then all of a sudden, all those things you thought you had, they're gone. They're completely gone. You know, you ever there are things that everybody in here, there's things that you're really smart about, right? There are things that you're very smart about. And then you get into a space that's not your space to be smart, right? You're not supposed to be smart right now. Or this is not a part of that greater truth that is you. And you get into that space and all of a sudden you're the dumbest person in the room, right? And a lot of people get frustrated by that. But the truth is you're supposed to accept it because you're not on somebody else's house, right? That type of thing. And it shows you that intelligence was never yours. That intelligence wasn't yours. What you were calling intelligence was the sensation of a paved road. You're moving through that road, right? You're moving through that road. Let's say you and your friend were heading somewhere and your friend decides to go through the bush and you go on the paved road and you're moving smoothly. You're not getting hurt and you're fine. Everything's moving smoothly, but your friend has to dodge and weave and is getting cut and poked and mosquito bites and things like that. Now, the ofeke, right? The unwise, the unknowing, the uninitiated is going to think, oh, I'm just better than this guy. I'm just better than this guy at doing this thing, or I'm just moving smoother because I'm making, quote unquote, the right decisions. But the truth is that person is on the path they're supposed to be on. Because if you enter that bush, if you go off that path and enter that bush, you'll be in the same situation that your friend is in. But your friend also has a path. Maybe they're not following their path. You understand? Your friend also has a path too that they can follow, and the things will move smoothly for them. That's why I said that the idea of the ikenga, the imperviousness that an individual has when they are following their path. There's an ilu that says that as long as my ikenga is awake, I can wrestle in the world of spirits. It comes from the story of Ojadili. Ojadili is an epic. I'm trying to get the full story, but the short story is that Ojadili is about this great wrestler who defeated all mortals. And so to show his ability or his power or his prowess, or in some version of the story, because he got bored, he enters Alam-Mo, the world of spirits, to go wrestle the spirits, right? And when people are saying, Ojadili, don't do it, that kind of thing, he told them that so long as my Ikenga is awake, I can wrestle in the world of spirits, right? So that's what the Ikenga is. That's what it's about. As long as you're following, you're living that truth that is you, you're impenetrable, you're impervious. There was a there's a conversation I had with a good friend of mine, Onye Mobi. I'm sure he's in here. We were talking about how for some reason, a lot of like the Christians at home will accuse Odinani people of doing juju to them and this thing being buried here. But for some reason, the Odinani people are never afraid of something being buried against them or somebody doing yada yada, this and this and that against them, that kind of thing, right? Odinani, they're never afraid. Nobody's ever worried about that. It's always somebody that just came out of Apostle Suleiman's church. Right? Or was watching Joel's thing on TV on repeat, and it comes out, and all of a sudden he's paranoid about somebody did this and did that to him, yada yada. I should stop saying names where YouTube demonetizes me. But comes out of all these particular places, and they're always paranoid about that. And if you talk to any DB, they'll tell you that the people that come here the most are the people that are Ndioka, right? They'll come in there, oh, protect me from this, protect me from that. But the Odinani people are never afraid of anything happening to them because they know they're impervious. They know that they're on their path. Christ. Yeah. Mountain of fire. Yeah. Always so damn paranoid. And then I apologize because some of you guys have messaged me like, "Oh, I'm worried about this and this and that and that." And then I've noticed a lot of people become like calmer, laughter, like, "Oh, okay, what the fuck is okay, somebody's trying to, that kind of thing." You're protected, you're strong. Remember earlier I said that you come into the world and you have what's called an ofondo. Some people call it an iuwa, but it's an ofo, right? And what our ancestors know and believe is that ofo is connected to Anna, the earth. It is connected to the earth, right? And anything that's going to happen to you, the earth gives permission for it to happen. Your chi also gives permission for it to happen, that kind of thing. But if you're keeping to your ofo, you have what is called ogun. You're protected. Nothing's going to happen to you, right? The example, if you haven't seen my ofo explained video, check it out. It really goes into this concept, but about the idea of that protection, right? The analogy I used for the All Explained video was the apartment lease, right? Was the apartment lease. If you sign your lease and you say, I'm not bringing pets, I'm going to pay my rent on this day, and I'm not going to, I don't know, start a fire in here or something. There are certain things you agree to, right? You make a pact, you're all full. So long as you're keeping to that pact, if somebody runs in your apartment and throws you out, physically throws you out and says, this is my apartment now, when you appeal to justice, it can be the human justice, it can be universal justice. Justice will put you back in that place and take that thing out. That's Ogun. So long as I follow my ofo, I now have the Ogun that protects it, right? As long as I am lawful on a universal and a cosmic level, I have universal and cosmic protection, right? But Ogun is also the punisher, so that if I don't pay my rent and my apartment complex appeals to justice, justice will throw me out of that apartment. I'm not protected anymore. I'm out. I broke the lease. So the reason Odinani people are not always paranoid about people, oh, this person, my village people did this. I had a friend from Ishan. She said that she's never been to her village, her community. And Ishan is like, they're somehow similar to Igbo people, so they do the whole going to the village thing. But she doesn't go because there's too much juju in her state. And so we'll never meet her grandmother. Maybe she has now, I don't know. Won't meet grandfather, uncles, nothing. That's just gone just because somebody is afraid. And there you meet them, heavy Adventists. that kind of thing. Those are the ones always paranoid. That kind of thing. But many people know I gym all four no aga. I have all four. I use the all four to move through the world, and ogun that protects me, right? Sure, yeah, yeah. I'm clowning today. I was talking about. I was I had brought up a particular company that I won't mention again. YouTube half demonetized. So I'm like, okay, I'll chill out. Too much juju might say, yeah, it's a real thing. That kind of thing. So and again, we that protection, right? Now here's the thing. Back to the Agwu thing, right, and how it connects to all that thing, right? Again, you made a pact when you came into the world to live a certain truth. So if you don't want to live it, fine, go ahead. But you're on your own, right? You're on your own. And the things that came into the world with you, and there's more than the ones I even named, the things that came into the world with you are not going to follow you as you divert into the bush because they are heading to, I don't know, they're going to get something to eat and you want to just run through the bush and do whatever, right? That type of thing. They're not going to follow you. So now you're on your own and you can actually live on your own, but you'll feel it. You'll feel it. You'll feel on your own when you're supposed to be, hey, Miss Diva, Miss Diva, donation. Miss Diva, Igade, Igeto, Nyobola Itiaka Nowa, Ogeto Nowa, Ogade no Neke, Norie, Nafo, Nampo. He said, I do that to show appreciation. Thank you so much. It helps. So somebody retracted. Okay, yeah. Hey, Chimeze is in here. Chimeze is is our Igbo 2 teacher for Kedu.me. This is Ann Dixon. Hey, Ann. Oh, Ada. Why did I say Ann? Ada. We haven't spoken in a long time. I've messaged you on Patreon. Or message me back because I wanted to see how things are with you. He said, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, cool. So again, that album, that thing that came into the world, it's not going to divert because you decided to be whatever you decided to be. It's going to go and it's going to try to return if you don't desecrate its name too much, right? And do the right thing again, right? Okay, this person was a misfire. Let's try again. But your actions in the world right now can actually make that process of returning difficult for your Agwu, not just for you, but for your Agwu, right? Because remember, that thing returns to Chi, and then it comes back into Eke, and it negotiates its existence again. And then Eke goes, the last time I brought you here, you just kept accusing people of burying things in the backyard against you, and you kept stealing, and you're a liar, and you didn't do nothing you said you were going to do. Right? So no, you're not coming back. In fact, your family didn't even bury you, right? They didn't invite you to return, or they didn't give you 2 funerals. In the West, I think, probably got it from Egypt, and Egypt knows where it got it from. But the idea of a funeral and a wake keeping, that's a double funeral. In Igbo cosmology, in order for when you want to invite somebody to reincarnate because they were a blessing onto the world, you have 2 funerals for them. So most people will have 2 funerals unless you commit an abomination. If you commit an abomination, the abominations will vary by community, but they are almost always universally incest, murder, taking what doesn't belong or what belongs to the Abara or the spirit of the land. Those are the 3 universals, right? Incest, murder, and that, right? Some communities will add different things here and there, and so forth, right? Those of you who maybe grew up Christian, the idea of the 10 Commandments, that's the awful. So that kind of thing, if you of that land, that alleged land, and if you violate those things, you're not coming back. We're not bringing you back, that kind of thing. So your Agwu's coming back, and because of the things you were doing when you returned, right? This person wouldn't even listen to me, yada yada yada, kind of thing. That your Agwu can't even return, and that's why there's some Agwu that if you play with the plan they have in this world, it will destroy you. Because not only do you have to do that thing, they have to make sure to return in order for the universe to sustain its order and sustain its balance, right? So that's what that is. I know you guys have been asking questions. Miss Diva, thank you so much. Or Ada, thank you so much for the donation. I'm going to try to read. If you all got questions, throw the questions at me before we go. He said suicide too. Yes, Chimeze, suicide too. Incest, murder, suicide, taking what belongs to the land. right? What belongs to Ana, right? So, like, for example, in my community, the spirit of the land manifests in animal form as the python, Eken Jaba, right? And my own community is kind of unique. I mean, there's other Igbo communities like this, but my own community is unique because the river owns the land. Typically, the land owns the river, or back and forth, that kind of thing. But the river owns the land. So the river in Java owns the land that we're on. And she manifests in animal form as the python, right? She manifests in animal form as a python. So if you kill a python in my community, people aren't going to go to your funeral, right? And traditionally, you wouldn't be buried if you pass away, which is also said would happen pretty shortly after you did that. And it won't be by human hands. I had this really good conversation with my dad, and he was telling me, because we were talking about someone who cut down a tree in my community, a sacred tree. You know, whenever you tell Christians that something's sacred, the next thing you do is cut it down. So, so somebody cut down a sacred tree in my community, and I asked them, I was like, okay, why do you guys keep letting these fanatics kind of bully you guys, or like cut these things down and destroy these things, And what my dad said was that you don't fight for the spirits. As far as Odinani goes, you don't fight for the spirits. The spirits will do their own work. You understand that? You don't fight for, you don't pick up a weapon in the name of the spirit, that it'll do its own work, right? That type of thing. Now, if you know what's going on in my own community and the person who did it, you will see that the work is being done very loudly and clearly, and has actually been in the news multiple times, and it has had nothing to do with even anybody in the community deliberately doing something to them. In short, the military has been in my community 3 times now, right? We did a fundraiser for the first one, and during the fundraiser, they came again and again and again. And it's all related to that same person that did the cutting, but I won't go into that. Umun Jaba, yes, Derek, cutting down sacred trees is one of the huge pet peeves, because what's happening in yes, you were telling me that Chimoge lives near Owerri, so Owerri is an fast expanding town, and so the foreigners, the people that are not from his community, are like buying up land and chopping things down to build hotels and all that stuff. So he's going through a lot as far as that goes. I'm going to try to read questions. Throw them at me if you got them. I'm just going to go scroll back up, and then we're going to head off for today. Redeemed churches. I'll stop saying names, man. I don't know who's connected to who, man. I don't know who's in here, so I feel like somebody's snitching. But facts, Christ, Mountain of Fire. They always have the same voice too. That's wild. If you become the thing your Agwu opposes, your Agwu starts working against you. Udochi, absolutely, absolutely. And it's for people who have whose Agwu's mission is particularly important, right? If their Agwu is particularly important, and you start going against it, like I'll just use an example of Martin Luther King, right? If Martin Luther King decided to become Uncle Ruckus, right, from the Boondocks, or decided to just like, I'll make sure black people don't have nothing, right? His Agwu would wrestle him to the ground, that type of thing. Now, he did pass away young, right? But he had a wife and he had children, and his spirit manifested into the world the way it was supposed to. And hence, he had the effect that he had. So that would not be a case of his Agwu working against them. Some people's life is just supposed to be short, that kind of thing. So, but his own Agwu is strong. Another example is like Martin Luther King, or not Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X's life prior to finding his purpose was very all over the place and very tough, and then order came for a very brief period in his life, right? That kind of thing, because he entered a space where all of a sudden things started moving, the way they were supposed to. There's all types of people in history that you can use as examples and things like that. Wouldn't scamming be a violation of Iwala since a form of stealing? Iwala is different from laws, right? So there can be a law that says you should not steal, right? But it's not necessarily a sacred law. It's not necessarily a sacred law. Iwala is specifically sacred laws. So in Igbo society, you'd have Iwala. Then you'd have the laws that people make, right? You'd have the laws that people make when they assemble in Congress and they talk to each other and things like that. And they say, all right, this is the law that we're going to make, yada, yada, yada. It's not necessarily tied to the land. Now, they can ritually tie that law to the land if there's something that they feel is particularly egregious and they want it to be on a sacred level or illegal on a sacred level, so that if justice of the human justice cannot solve this issue, the universal justice can now appeal to it, and it's permanent, it's there forever. Which is why Iwala will differ from community to community, right? People planted different laws into the land, but typically most laws you'll encounter are not Iwala, right? Like traffic violation, that's not Iwala. Now, if I don't know, who's the governor of this place? Greg Abbott. I'm in Texas. If Greg Abbott decided to make it a sacred law, then he wouldn't even need police to regulate the traffic. The universal regulator for him, but he's not on that level. The Tinder swindlers. Udochi, I love your your pop culture references are A1. Yeah, the Tinder swindlers Agwu was putting in work. Could be. Didn't they say he didn't go to jail? Scam or be scammed. Hey, by the way, this is not a pro scam stream. I hope nobody interprets what I'm saying as, okay, the reason you're scamming is because your algorithm says go scam. You understand? But that type of thing. So, because if your algorithm says scam and my own algorithm says don't be scammed, if you scam me, then it's your algorithm versus my algorithm. That kind of thing. Wow, this describes academics when they oh wait, hold on. This describes academics when they start to compete with peers instead of focusing on their work. Many intellectuals are very loopy. I had a really good conversation with Chimoge about something similar. Chimoge, I'm still waiting for that video. Laddie Luck. I don't know, I can't say nothing. Yahoo boys. I beg, which Yahoo boys? I thought there was a way to go to a Debia to release you from Agwu. Anise, thank you for that. So, okay, Anise says, I thought there was a way to go to a Debia to release you from Agwu. So, yes, a lot of people, because if your Agwu says you're supposed to be a Debia and you don't want to be a Debia, you can separate from that. You can pull apart from that thing. But again, that's the same thing as entering the bush by yourself. You're on your own. Because all of the things you know about yourself, your truth, be it good, be it bad, is connected to that Agwu. It's coming from that same source, your chiwa, right? So that if you say, I don't accept the mission, right? The tools by which, again, with the janitor and the keys, I quit. I don't want to do this job anymore. All right, give me the keys, give me the uniform. Have a good day, right? You may not even, if you come by the building, they'll look at you funny, there's that guy that got fired, We've all been there. Yes, I witnessed in life that some people are not allowed to settle. Absolutely. And never had things fall apart. Dealing with someone with this dynamic right now. My dentist, just like Coco. Laddie Luck, if you want to share that story, I feel like that'd be funny. When he felt weakness, he attributes it to his father, who he couldn't stand. Absolutely. You're in there. Yeah, you got it. Okay, so I think we guys have a things fall apart conversation. So I'm scrolling up. No arguments on AK Day. Can't do that with Jamaicans. Jamaicans can start an argument with themselves. Yeah, Jamaicans have a very similar temperament to Nigerians, and they're the same people anyways. But yeah, so whenever Jamaicans make jokes about, I'm actually on Jamaican groups because their jokes are the same thing as us, it's the same thing, that kind of thing, temperament wise, How do you know which market day is yours? Sarah, you can do Alpha to figure out the market day that's yours, but it's the market day you were born on. Now, one of the things, I'm trying to remember who it was, probably Ross. But one of the things that me and a good friend of mine were trying to figure out with the calendar was the fact that, because I made a digital calendar. And by the way, and I should have said this earlier, but I'll say in the end. But anyways, I made a digital calendar that tells you the market days, things like that, so on and so forth. And there's other digital calendars online, but every year is not an even 24 hours. And if you're trying to count it with a calendar, you're always going to miscalculate because those lapses, those missing few seconds or missing few minutes are going to add up and add up. And all of a sudden, you're now a day off. I hope I'm making sense. But mathematically, it's hard to trace back unless there's an algorithm designed by a programmer, wink, wink, if you're a programmer, that can account for the lapses, leap years, things like that, right? So, one of the best ways you can do it as it stands is Afa. You find a good DBA who can do Afa for you. Now, traditionally, you don't go to one DBA. You go to one DBA, you go to another, you go to another, you go to another, right? And if you're hearing the same thing all the way through, you're hearing the truth. If one's saying this and then the rest are saying that, okay, maybe check another. Okay, they're all saying this one, okay, this one's somewhere else, right? That kind of thing, right? So Afa is a great way. Afa is a great way. Get a hold of a reliable DBA. That would be a great thing. I used to have an in-house DBA for the patrons, but it wasn't working out. So I decided that we're not doing that anymore. But I do one-to-ones. Right? I do one-to-ones if you're interested in hearing an ancestral perspective on some of the things you're going through and so forth. But I don't recommend DBAs. I don't have DBAs I recommend, but you can find them. Let me go back down. I think somebody gave a donation. Hi, say Matifi. Matifi, I hope I'm saying it right. Greetings from Europe. It's almost 6 a.m. in the morning. Hi, Mwakoma. You got it. You get to. Nyobala itiri aka I'll get to no wa. I got did not naked. Nori. Now fault now what ise. I hope you're not too close to what's going on as far as Ukraine goes, and hope you're not horribly affected. But that's what's, as far as an American goes, that's what we're hearing in the news about Europe. So you might be very far removed from it, but hope you're okay, Matifi. And hey, thanks for Tap coming and hanging out this late on your time. I know a lot of you guys are also in the same situation. I swear all Jamaicans I know are Igbo. Yeah, very Igbo. Very Igbo. Very Jamaicans are very Igbo. Yeah, big time. Even like just look at the way a Jamaican uncle dresses and an Igbo uncle dresses. You'll know it's the same people. Yeah, but I know my Agwu is through Afa. To clarify, is this divination done? Okay, cool. To know my Agwu is through Afa. To clarify, is this divination done by a DBA? Yes. So you would find a DBA Afa or a DBA that specializes in Afa, and there are different types of Afa you can do, but just let them know that you're trying to find you're just trying to find your day. You're trying to find that type of thing. Your EU, universal. He's not gonna understand that way. IYI space UWA. Yeah. So that's what you're trying to find out, and from there they can do that and figure it out for you and so forth. Mago tells me to serve Ghana jollof rice to Nigerians. It's because you're an agent of chaos. That's why. How do I know what my Agwu wants? Okay, so one of the ways you'll know. Okay, so I had a video called Chi Explained. And in the video Chi Explained, I gave 5 ways that you on a personal level can know what your Chi wants. Your Chi, your Agwu, they all want the same thing, right? To know what your Chi wants, right? And I'm trying to remember them off the top of the head, but one of them was resonance, right? The things that are connected to your truth and the things that are for you will resonate with you, right? There'll be a resonance. It will feel warm. Often the comparison or the physical manifestation of the chi in the world is the sun. So the things that are of your chi will feel like the sun. They will feel bright. They will shine. That kind of thing, right? Like what I'm doing right now, I'm in the zone. I'm having a good time. Nothing bad can happen. My brain is on whatever the hell it needs to be on, that kind of thing. But then there's some things that, like, if just like the most basic thing you ask me to do, and it's just like nothing, I'm gone, right? That type of thing, which made me realize that whatever I believe are my gifts, they don't belong to me entirely. They're not mine, right? I'm supposed to use it for something else, that type of thing. So resonance was one of the ways you can know what your chi wants for you. Another thing you can take a look at is if you're able to figure out the person you reincarnated from. Look at what their life looked like, right? What were they trying to do? Who were they on an existential level? Right? What was their truth? This is not an exact science because you know me based on the perception I project, right? And that's how it is with everybody in your life. You don't actually know what's inside of them. You know what's coming out of them, right? That type of thing. So the story that's going to be told is what projects, right? So that's not an exact science, but oftentimes you'll know, right? For example, my brother, the person he reincarnated from, he died fairly young. And there, I told the story on my channel, I think probably a few times. And there was a woman that could have saved his life, but she didn't, right? Now, this particular person, an uncle of mine, he was on the way to being a very successful man, right? He was sharp, he was bright, things were moving, very handsome guy, things were moving for him. Then he passed away. And so when he was born, when he returned as my brother broke his leg as a baby. He broke his leg, right? That type of thing. And one of the things that they had to do to heal his leg, my grand aunt, who is not a DB or an AZNY, but was knowledgeable of all these things. And by the way, one of the reasons the DBA gets more emphasized now is because those are some of the last people that retained a lot of this knowledge. A lot of what I'm sharing and beyond was common knowledge at a point. It was common knowledge, right? Like the idea of medicine. A lot of people knew what healed you based off of observation, like going to, okay, this person has this, I can go into the forest and pick out what needs to heal them. The same way I know that Tylenol is going to cure my headache, right? So she wasn't a DBA, but she knew how to do all these things completely, or an AZNY, but she knew how to do all these things completely. But they figured out that he was angry at the way he died and how this woman could have saved his life. And one of the things they had to do in the process of bringing his leg back, the doctors here in the US said that he was going to be crippled. He's never going to walk again because of the condition of his leg, right? And then my mom took him to like a church and they did they speak in they speak in the tongues, and nothing happened, right? And so they brought it to my grand uncle and my grand aunt, and they healed his leg, and he's walking now. He's actually a very successful rapper, right? And he with a very lively dance-based leg dependent performance that he does with every fiber of his being, right? So part of knowing your Agwu is going to be that you know your previous story, who you were before, right? And that thing's going to explain a lot of what's going on with you now, because the Agwu, that spirit, refused to walk until he got an apology from that woman. So a lot of times you'll know based off the story of what happened before, but again, it's the projection that the story is the projection. It's not what's inside, right? That kind of thing. But yeah, check out the Chi Explained video. It'll give you the different reasons. I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but then you can always also do Afa. Just find a good DB, do Afa, that kind of thing, and you'll figure out. I'm in Texas too, Houston to be exact. Whoop whoop. Yeah. I'm a Houstonian as well. I thought that stealing in general was a 3. No. Stealing is very subjective, right? Killing is blatant, but stealing is very subjective. So what is stealing, right? That kind of thing. In the Mali Empire, if you went to a place and stole the food, but you ate it all, if you ate like if I go to somebody selling apples and I eat her apples, that's not considered stealing. If I walk away with her apples, right? Or if I take more apples than I can actually eat myself, that was stealing. And they wrote it in their laws, right? Whereas you go somewhere else, like I think in California, they made an announcement that you, if somebody tries to like steal something from a store, it's cool. Don't go stealing stuff in California. I don't know. Something about like if you go to stores and you take things, it's cool. Like it's not even against the law anymore or something like that. Yeah. So stealing is subjective. You can't really, it'd be hard to say you can't steal, but you can't take what belongs to the land, right? So there'll be certain trees. That tree is connected to the Abara of the land. That's her tree. Leave it alone, right? And then, because, I don't know, them folks told you go cut it down, you go cut it down. Now you've committed Iwala. Now we're not going to his funeral, that kind of thing. Or maybe you go destroy an awful. That awful that you were given, remember, it was a pact you made or somebody made with something beyond, something universal. So it doesn't belong to any, that's beyond stealing. You're actually taking something that's divine. Right? Okay, that's violating Iwala. But like, okay, you steal some food, that's not a violation against Iwala. You understand? You're just kind of lame. If AK is the best market day, then which one is the worst? No. AK is not the best. AK is not the best. That's not what that means. Eke is a very powerful day, but powerful doesn't mean the best, right? That kind of thing. Like if I'm trying to eat and there's a cake in a car, right? A car is more powerful than a cake, but the cake is best in that situation. So no, it doesn't mean that Eke is the best and there's no worst. And don't rank them. Don't rank them. They're all different doors that exist for their own reasons, right? Whichever one you think is the worst, get rid of it in your life, right? So if Nkwo is the worst, stop breathing. If Uri is the worst, stop drinking water. If Eke is the worst, live in the darkness, right? Live in the darkness, or just I don't even know if you can't live without Eke. You understand? Because Eke is energy, it's lights, it's all that stuff. So I don't know if you don't even have a choice, which is what makes it senior, right? You don't even have a choice in that case, right? If it's Afal, okay, fine. Stop eating minerals. Stop using land in any capacity. Then you'll know how to rank them and that kind of thing. So, but I'm not going to rank them because it's disrespectful to them, right? I can say Eke because she's senior, but it doesn't mean that she's better than the others. That kind of thing. She just came first, that kind of thing. I recommend. Thank you, man. I recommend it. It lines up. Okay, that's a different thing. I swear Jamaican, sorry, our mix of Ghanaian and Southern Nigerian, Western Congolese. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's a little dollar sign next to the smiley face where to donate. Okay, cool. It's at the bottom of the thing. All right, guys. I think we're all out of questions, and I think 1 hour and roughly 30 minutes is just about enough time. So here's the thing. So before I used to go live and do the different moons, like each moon, that type of thing. But I've gone through every single moon and I'm not going to like go through them again and that kind of thing. So I was thinking of just coming and just picking a different topic and talking about it, right? So I wanted to know, I'm sorry, that was gross. I'm sorry. I wanted to know how frequently you guys wanted me to do it because I love this. I love doing this. I was thinking every Friday. I was thinking every other Friday. I'll make a decision, but I'm very, very, very open to input. So let me know, especially Ndieze, not on Patreon. Let me know how frequently you guys think this would work for you, and so forth. Came first. She's the big sis. Awesome. Who came last? The youngest sister is Nkwo. Now, some people say that Nkwo and which one is it? Nkwo and Eke are male, and Urie and Afa are female. And I've heard both narratives, and both people know why they're saying what they're saying. So I'm not going to say which one's right or wrong, right? The way I understand them is that they're households. So within Eke, there's a masculine and a feminine. Within Afa, there's a masculine and a feminine, Alanigwe, that kind of thing. Within Nkwo, there's a masculine and a feminine. Within Urie, a masculine and feminine. But you guys are making me leak the secrets of the next video. So I don't want to go too far into that. But I see them as households, but everybody that says one or the other makes sense because the people that say masculine, feminine, if you'll notice the two that they identify as feminine, which are Uri and Afo, which is earth and water, there are worlds you can live in, but you can't necessarily live in Eke you can. It's light. So you know what I mean? And then Nkwo is wind. You can't necessarily stand on wind or live in wind. It's a force. Eke is a force. Nkwo is a force. So when they say that those are masculine, it makes sense. That's fine. It's just different ways of conceptualizing the same thing. Thank you for the wisdom. Sis Nicole, Udogade, thank you so much. So, all right, guys, if you want to support the movements, how do you know all that? Nice live, though. How do I know? I know because of Agwu. You understand? I know because of Agwu. So, if you guys want to support the channel, the best way to support is patreon.com. Let me do it that way. Patreon.com/the medicine shell. With all patrons have access to my Patreon library, right? The medicine library, I call it. And it is a collection. So I'm constantly researching, I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly trying to learn new things and explore. And as I've been doing it throughout the years, I've been compiling and collecting all of the different things I've read. So a lot of the books that maybe if I've cited a book here and there, you're probably going to find it in there. Articles, documents written by Nzes, Ozos, Dibias, researchers, firsthand historical accounts, anything that you're interested in. I break it down by folder. So let's say, okay, I want to learn more about Uri. I think my day is Uri or that kind of thing. I have a Nemiri folder where everything is in there. You can read all about her and so forth. Kayla, I don't know if you're in here, but I still got to send you those documents. So I'll try to send them tonight if I don't pass out after this. But yeah, so that kind of thing. So that's available to every single patron, no matter what level you enter. For those that come in at the higher levels, which are the premium and the Izin tier, you have access to our Ordinary group study. So just picture like this, right? Only it's on Zoom. So we got a whole bunch of people. We pick a topic, or I pick a topic, we discuss it, and people give their different perspectives and things like that. And what makes that particular gathering really interesting is because we have people that are versed in Kemetic studies, hoodoo, Obe, Santeria, Ifa, anything you could name, it's all there. And people share these different perspectives and how things correlate and connect and so forth. So as much as I want to say I'm the one putting the whole thing together, it's really a soup we all cook together. And I always say this, but it's one of my favorite parts of the month. That's available to patrons. And then of course the calendar. So which I need to update, by the way, I haven't put the new moons on there. So if you all patrons also have access to our digital calendar. It lets you know which market day it is, which when you're at your altar and you're manifesting, it's important to call out the day that it is, right? So if it's Eke, it's important to say today is Eke. That kind of thing. Or maybe if your ancestors speak English, you'll say today is Eke, right? That kind of thing, and so forth. So that's there. It's available to all the patrons. And most importantly, it is the best way to support the channel. Another way you can support is by donating here. The donation button, somebody was asking, it's near the smiley face at the bottom. At least that's how I'm seeing it. It's got a little dollar sign and so forth. And then for those of you who are interested in learning the Igbo language, I have officially launched my Igbo language school. Now, I'm not the teacher. I still have a lot to learn. In fact, I'm enrolled in Igbo 2. Where is he at? Our teacher is actually here talking for Igbo 2. You guys are going to see a lot more of him. He's got a lot of things he's working on, a lot of things he's done already that I myself will be presenting and shining as much light as I can on. And of course, he's got his own light that he can shine on these things. I'll talk about Igbo legends, mythical heroes and creatures. Okay, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, next time. LOL, he missed you, Ross. What did Ross do? She. Okay. Yeah. So hold on, wait. Something is male. I've been calling her Nemqual. No, some people say female, some people say male. Each person has a reason why they say it. I identify them all as female because in the stories that I heard just growing up ish, they were all girls. They were all female, that kind of thing. So I identify them that way, and they're depicted that way often, and so on and so forth. But there are people that will say, and they know why they're saying it. They know why they're saying it. So you say Nemqual, there is a Nemqual you're referring to. If you say Okemqual, there's an Okemqual you're also referring to. You're not wrong either way. Somebody says, hello, Chinwendu lover, where you typed your comment. Lower where you typed your comment. I don't get that. I agree that they're all female. They're matter. Matter is AK is female. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I think that enters the space of philosophy where each person can give their philosophy, so on and so forth. But I have my reasons for saying they're female. So anyways, as I was saying, yeah, best way to support patreon.com. Go to Kedu or www.kedu.me if you're interested in learning the Igbo language. I've developed a teaching method that is based off of the ancestral method, right? It's based off the ancestral method. And I won't say what it is because there's people that are enrolled right now. If I tell them what's going on, they will be like, that's what it is. And that might skew things. So maybe at the end of this quarter, I'll tell exactly what that method is. But there's an ancestral method of teaching. Right. And it's based off of something I said earlier on. So if you want to replay this and figure out what it is, I actually kind of said what it is before. So that type of thing. There's an ancestral method is based very much on that particular thing. Students have both an instructor and a coach. So your instructor, you guys are meeting in a group study. You're picking a segment of the Igbo language and we're working on mastering it together. Your coach is calling you as frequently as you choose. And you're having a conversation in the Igbo language until you become comfortable and natural and you're able to communicate fluidly and so forth. So the combination of those two things makes an individual a very effective speaker and learner of the language. And that is at www.kedu.me. I'll be launching a forum pretty soon, a forum where the only rule of the forum is that everybody has to speak Igbo in that form. It's going to be on kedu.me, but I'll let you guys know when it's up so we can all go in there and hang out and talk shit and learn and so forth. And if you can't speak and you're learning, I said the only rule. The second rule is you can't be harsh about people's language because it's for learning, right? You can't be mean about it. Right, so we Americanas, we're sensitive, so I'm putting in that rule because America is all about your feelings. But yeah, Kachifo, all right, Urenna, Kachifo, hi. The new medicine shell forum sounds like a great idea. Chimoge, thank you. So unu niile, wee kpọọ ji, unu ga-adị, unu ga-eto. Ihe ọbụla nna tiri aka ọ ga-eto n'ụwa ọ ga-adị n'ụwa udo ga-adị ngọzi Chukwu ga-adị ihe ọbụla uche gị na obi gị shi ga-adị ọ ga-adị n'eke n'orie n'afọ na nkwọ ise. What, sensitive? Yeah, sensitive as hell. All right, y'all, udo ga-adị, take care. Medicine shell, I like that. Oh, hey, hit like if you haven't hit liked. There's 38 people in here and 36 likes, so somebody's slacking. Hit like if you haven't hit like. That's supposed to be one of the big things for YouTube. Yeah. All right. Udo, take care.